I want people to really ask themselves, what disturbs your spirit so much about the idea of a child also being a sexual being?
Hi, my name is AJ, and I'm going to be talking today about Toya or Oracle. So my last video about Toya or Oracle did really well, and you guys asked for a deep dive, so that's why I'm here. I'm a public servant. Do you like my shorts? So this is going to be part 1 of I don't know how many in a series about Oracle, because if I made everything in one video, this video would be so long. And I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to. So this is part 1, and part 1 is about him and his weird takes with children, and just like weird sexual takes in general. I feel like sex and children are not things that you want to hear in the same sentence, but unfortunately they are things that Oracle wants to hear in the same sentence. So the first part of Oracle's weird beliefs are that not only should children be shown porn, but it's beneficial to them so that they know what to do.
Well, one of my mutuals, who is now blocked, and also they're a light-skinned person, like, that's not a loss at all. It's clearing out the trash. Commented that, you know, while they think that children should have access to sexual education, they shouldn't have access to porn. How do you think they're going to get that sexual education if they do not have access to pornographic material? They need to know what a vagina looks like and what a vagina does. They need to know what a penis looks like and what a penis does. They need to know what genitalia looks like. They need to know what, like, the proper methods to engage in intercourse, which means that they're gonna have to be looking at porn. The fuck you mean? And of course, like, it could be supervised. So we can talk about, you know, giving children access to pornography and it being supervised, right? But y'all are just saying, oh no, they shouldn't have. How do you think that?
I want to start off by saying that children do not need to know how to have sex. I think that goes without saying. I think we're on the same wavelength here. That children don't need to know how to have sex. And that also, I think porn is the worst way to teach children how to have sex. Scratch that. How to teach anyone how to have sex. I'd also argue that no one needs porn, especially not children. He's under the impression that because he's obsessed with porn, if you're not obsessed with porn, you are the weird one. If there was Toya, an asexual man, and a bear in the room, I hate to say it, but Toya would be at the bottom of my list of who I would trust. I agree that we need sex ed, but I don't think that our sex ed needs to look like, I'm your doctor, and today I'm gonna give you a pap smear. Do you like schmear? That was my attempt at like a sexy porn intro, but I don't know if it came across, so let me know if it did. Did the joke land? Every time I put on my glasses, I feel like I should wear them more often. Purposely showing a child pornographic material is abuse and grooming. And I don't think that is a hot take. Any logical person would come to the conclusion that, okay, child has never felt sexual feelings before. You are showing child this sexual content. So you are the first person that they are feeling these feelings around. Don't you think that might get some wires crossed possibly? You are then grooming the child to associate you with that feeling. And it doesn't matter if it's on purpose or not. That's grooming. That's weird. I would not trust Oracle or Toya with a child, and I fully mean that. Not with my child, at least. And I'm really not even exaggerating. We'll get into more later in this video, but you'll see I am really not exaggerating. I would not trust them with my child. I feel like it's not an over-exaggeration to say they have some predatory beliefs that are probably shared with creeps.
You know, sexually repressed people are some of the most unsafe people I have ever met. They will sit there and talk about how porn is bad, porn is evil, porn is unsafe. Meanwhile, they be stalking me. They be stalking me. So you say that, you know, porn preaches violence against women and other marginalized people, and yet you're stalking me. Is that not violence? They'll talk about how porn teaches you unhealthy relationship practices, and yet they're the ones recording me without consent and posting it online, or taking my content and posting it on their page without my consent. So the people who are sex positive are predatory, but the people who are sex negative and taking my information and taking my content without consent and taking my image without consent are the safe people. Make it make sense.
I can't begin to name how many fallacies are in this. Not to get too intellectual on you, but there's a lot. I am willing to bet, actually quite a lot of money, that there is no correlation between somebody being sexually repressed and watching your content. I can almost promise you that. He's reaching for points when he has none. He has 0 points. You saying children should watch porn and people watching your content being weirded out and reposting it and being like, look how much of a freak he is, are not the same thing. It's not like apples and oranges. It's like apples in a plane. There's no actual comparison there. You're pushing. I feel you pushing for comparison where there is none. I just want to know. Maybe you can tell me. How is somebody critiquing him making them the predator? I would just like to know that, because I'm actually really confused and I'm kind of scared right now.
How do you even start the conversation when all of it is taboo? That kind of thinking is
a lot of people have felt like they could make decisions for me, even sexually, because they have not learned to respect the autonomy of a person like me.
It's revealing the truth, of unleashing culinary, that it created, the category of children as a human. How dare you, as a kid that just came into this world, like already
have desires.
Yeah, and want so much.
Who taught you how to have sex? Because sex is a skill. How are young people supposed to learn how to do those things if they have no examples of it? And again, I offer you that pornography can be a space where young people can learn how to perform sexual acts. It doesn't mean that they have to start having sex right away, but it can be a space to go, what's that? Oh, what's that? I didn't know you could do that. Oh shit. And a lot of young people do crave that. I know that I do. Not all sex workers need to be creating this content, but there are people that can and do make this content. Kind of demystifying pornography. Like, well, here's the scene, but this is behind the scenes. This is how we created this sex scene. And that, I think, is very, very educational.
We need to collectively, get to a point where we finally give sex and intimacy and sexuality the place that it deserves.
If you can convince, let me say that again, if you can convince people that their pleasure is a sin, then you have won this colonialist agenda. And so I decided to make my own content. If you don't like what you see out there, then create it. Create it, create it. I am a creator. Liberation requires creation. We need to create the world that we want to exist in.
I'm so tired. This other person is Seba, and we will get to her in another video. But for this video, we're gonna just focus on what they're saying. So we can all see the point that they're trying to make. I'm assuming that we're on the same wavelength. That's what I'm assuming right now. And I hope that it's so transparent that they're just hiding their weird beliefs under the guise of sex ed. They're trying to frame it as like porn is just sex ed, when it's not. Porn is not sexual education and should not be treated as such. Porn addiction is a very real thing, and just because you're a gooner doesn't mean everybody else is. I really think the #1 gooner award goes to Toya. How does it feel to be gooner of the year? He's saying something that's helpful for porn is demystifying it and showing behind the scenes and how that's so helpful. I agree. I think that's also helpful for adults, not for children. Children do not need to be any kind of mystified or demystified or any kind of fied by porn. There's no place for it. None. I can't think of a single one, actually.
I'm going to put this very plainly. I am not responsible for your projections onto me. If you see me without a shirt on and you automatically think that I am being sexual, that is a rapist mindset. If you hear me talking about childhood development and childhood sexuality and child liberation, and you think that means that I'm a pedophile, you are in fact the pedophile.
You can't I'm rubber, you're glue out of the situation. That's really the vibes I'm getting from this video, and I think it's actually kind of funny, because they're like, you're calling me a predator? No, you're a predator, actually, because you called me a predator. And what's my evidence? The fact that you called me a predator. That makes you a predator. It must be really easy to be him, especially if you can see any criticism and immediately make it their fault. Then you never have to take responsibility for anything ever, and that must be amazing. Do you know how much at night I sit up taking responsibility for things that have happened in the past? That's why my traps are huge. All that clenching you see? You can't just call us predators with no proof just because we're saying that you're weird. Stop. Actually, you're the only one that we have proof of being weird about children. So, if any one of us here is a predator...
Part 3 of y'all don't want to say no to people that you don't like because you want continued access to them. The person that I lived with previously, who was a domestic abuser, I had asked them if it was okay for me to walk around topless because that is how I felt most comfortable. And they lied to me and told me that it was okay
when actually they weren't okay with it, and then afterwards accused me of indecent exposure around their children. And I'm gonna explain to you how that is really rapey. When you lie to somebody, okay, to gain access to them, you are coercing them into a relationship with you. Because if they truly felt uncomfortable with me being topless around their children, they should have said that. They said, actually, I'm not okay with it. And then I would have known, oh, that does not align with what I need and want in a housing situation, so I'm going to find another place to live. But they didn't want that. They wanted control. They wanted me to stay so that they could continue to use my labor because I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was also helping out.
So not only are people right about you, you are handing us the proof of your crimes. Admitting that you showed or implied to a child that they should watch porn or showed them porn, and then also exposing yourself to that child, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing to say out loud, and I'm surprised that when he said it, he did not see how crazy that is. This is directed at Toya. So, you showed them porn or told them they should watch porn. You walked around shirtless and constantly had conversations about sex with them. Do you understand? This is grooming. That is not your child. That is not your responsibility. That is grooming. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he doesn't know that this is what he's doing, but babes, you're a predator. Maybe unintentionally, but you're a predator and you're weird. Like, fully, what you're promoting is dangerous rhetoric that, if heard by the wrong person, will lead to bad things. There are predators out there who are listening to his content and thinking that what they're doing is okay. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who's a predator saw this video or his videos and was like, oh, so what I'm doing is allowed, actually. People are gonna feel justified in their bad actions because of people like him. I, unfortunately, am a true crime watcher. And I hate to say it, but I've seen a lot of true crime where people are talking about how they were groomed by a family member or by a family friend. And guess what are the two main things I always hear? The person would subtly expose themselves, in your case, not so subtly, would subtly expose themselves to said person, usually a child that they wanted to groom, and they would show them sexually explicit material. Ding, 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 two things that Toya is doing. Bro, every single time I make a video, I'm like playing with my rat tail, and I always break off the little clips because I'm like fidgeting too hard. I need a fidget spinner. I don't think people are actually taking into account, though, how serious this situation is. And I'm going to insert a comment here that I received in my last video. I'm going to give you some time to read it. Actually, no, I'm not. Pause the video if you want to read the comment. It's a comment from somebody who literally used to live with Toya Oracle when they were a child, when they were a minor. And I believe them because Oracle made a video recently talking about how the person behind the, sounds of chinnin', that account on TikTok, yeah, they said is the child of somebody they used to live with. And I feel like it's probably this child, but I'm not confirmed. But this comment shows two things. Not only is this not a bit, this is not just for them to get attention. This is who they actually are and things they actually believe in. But this person is an actual predator with actual issues. In the comments of the last video I made, if you go through the comments, you'll see this person replied to a lot of comments of people being like, oh, I hope this is a bit, and them just being like, it's not. I lived with them. Not even giving more detail than that. Just being like, yeah, I lived with them. It's not a bit. So I hope to Oracle what it shows is you demystifying sex and showing kids porn or talking to them about sex was not appreciated. Nobody was grateful for it, even the kids. Nobody wanted that. You took it upon yourself to do that and nobody wanted it. He is not in the States anymore, but if he were, these are genuinely things that are prosecutable. Exposing yourself to children and showing them pornographic content are persecutable crimes.
Fatter than me, didn't like their own body and then criminalized me for walking around topless in my own. I'm like, oh, so if you hate your fat body, and you hypersexualize your fat body, then of course you're going to do that to me, and you're not going to humanize my fat body. Without a shirt on, and I asked them if it was safe to do so because I have been hypersexualized by people before for walking around topless or walking around naked since I was a child, and they told me it was okay, and the next thing I know, they're telling me that I'm exposing their children, that it's indecent exposure. So the people by far who are arguing against, children's right to access pornographic material, children's right to access, sexual education, are the people doing the sexualizing. Yeah, it's the repressed people. It's the repressed people that don't even masturbate. Yes, and sexual around, with my tatas out being free in my body, and then the person accused me of indecent exposure around their children. You are having sexual fantasies about me. We don't have a sexual relationship. I did not consent to be hypersexualized by you. You have no right to sexualize somebody's body without their consent.
Y'all are the rapists. Y'all are the predators.
Logic. These people were incapable of coexisting.
This person is blocked already because I'm just laughing because this is the same language my abuser used when I was just walking around our home without a shirt on. And so it became my new performer name, you know, on the hub and on OF. So if y'all want to know where to find me, Indecent Exposure. I'll put the name up here.
Genuinely illegal. And for them to have the audacity to make a joke about it and have their creator name on the spicy accounts be Indecent Exposure, what are we doing?
Indecent exposure, that's illegal. That's illegal. And slavery was legal. I've said this many, many times across all my platforms. Legality does not mean shit to me.
It's just so odd to me. And to say that people are sexualizing you because they don't want you to walk around with your titties out. Again, benefit of the doubt. Let's assume that people haven't done the same work as he has to desexualize the body. But if that is the case, if people have not taken that time, then I think we should have enough wherewithal to understand that, yes, it's going to be weird to them then. If you know people are not usually willing to put in the work that you have to desexualize the body, then yes, it's going to be weird to them, especially these children who you are just meeting, presumably, or just living with, who have not done the work also. It's going to be weird. Many foreign people grow up with what I call naked moms. I had a naked mom growing up. My mom's African, and she was a naked mom. But that also meant that my aunties were also naked women. I mean aunties in the way that Africans mean aunties. Like, I was not actually related to these people. But that means that the female body to me was very not sexual growing up. I was just like, that's the body. And I need you to put some clothes on, please. That's how it was. But my mom, and of course I was used to that. But that doesn't mean that when I saw another random lady naked, I wasn't like, oh, girl. If it's not somebody you're related to and you're used to seeing, it's very weird. I don't think anybody wants to see just a rando shirtless. You can't at the same time be a hypersexual gooner and at the same time be like, bodies are not sexual. Stop sexualizing the body. You're a gooner. That's your whole brand. That's your whole bit. You can't say they're not sexual. That's what you're doing. You're sexualizing it.
You know what other industries are unethical? The music industry. Hollywood, the movie industry. Are y'all now going to start advocating for children to not watch movies and to not listen to music either? Quickly. Answer, quickly. The book industry is unethical. TikTok is unethical. So are we just going to ban all forms of media? Is that what y'all want? Who wants to ban media? Who is currently trying to ban media right now? The U.S. government. Book burnings, book bans. Who is trying to ban the porn industry completely right now? The U.S. government. Like I said before, children have had access to pornographic material since the beginning of time. Since fucking Babylon, okay? Before the internet, we were making sculptures. We were drawing on fucking cave walls. You don't think that human beings weren't drawing sexual acts, weren't sculpting sexual acts? You don't think that children weren't like viewing that? Have y'all not heard of the Kama Sutra? The book that South Asians used to teach children about, to teach young adults about sexual acts to prepare them for when, they were interested in engaging themselves. So the people by far who are arguing against, children's right to access pornographic material, children's right to access, sexual education, are the people doing the sexualizing. Yeah, it's the repressed people. It's the repressed people that don't even masturbate.
I think comparing the porn industry to books and media is it's a stretch. It is a horrendous, purposeful misunderstanding of people's criticism towards them. Drawings of people having sex in caves and actual porn are very different. And also, I'm pretty sure the Kama Sutra is very controversial. So many industries are exploitative. Porn is also very exploitative. It can all be true. Also, I think it's so weird for them to say that people who don't masturbate are sexually repressed. Asexual people exist. Some people just genuinely don't have an interest in that. You have an unhealthy interest in sex. When I say you, I don't mean you. Just so you know, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Toya/Oracle. Him having a early exposure to sex messed him up.
At 12 years old, I was introduced to it by friends, my sister at school in the computer lab, and I continued to watch it at home. I was a fat queer, dark-skinned Black child, also autistic, and there were very, very limited experiences, actually none at all, for me to explore
my sexuality with other people my age. My sister, on the other hand, who was thin, who was heterosexual, started dating and having boyfriends around middle school. I did not have those experiences.
Being exposed to sex at an early age and porn at an early age will chemically mess you up in your brain. And I'm really sorry that happened to you, but don't make it our problem. Please stop.
I did find material that I didn't like. I did find material that was violent, and I scrolled on by. Because going back to my original point, children are conscious beings who make choices for themselves every single day. Yeah, and when I saw something that I didn't like, I scrolled, and I never ever looked up that thing again. Yeah, and also, why do y'all have so much energy for pornographic material, but y'all don't keep the same energy for all other forms of media?
They're saying that when they saw porn they didn't like, they scrolled past it. But not all kids are like that. Some kids, very young, are exposed to beheading videos. Something that's also very natural in nature, death. But guess what? Then they become addicted to watching these gross videos because they have been desensitized to that content. In the same way that if you are constantly watching porn, you can get desensitized to that content. And then you get desensitized to sex. This can lead to porn addiction, which can lead to ED, the inability to be present in the moment, and the inability to finish. Which then makes it so you can't even enjoy sex. Which isn't that the whole point, Oracle? To be able to enjoy sex? All because your brain has been corrupted by porn. And I'm not saying porn is a bad thing. I'm a former SW. I'm not anti-porn. But I am 100% anti-porn for children. Children should not be watching porn. And I agree that it should be only for the ages 18 and up. There should be nobody below the age of 18 watching porn. And here's the thing though, if they want to, they're gonna find it anyway. Nobody's saying that, you know, they can't find it. If they are actually interested in watching it, guess what? They're gonna find it. Children are gonna find a way to find out things they want to know. So I feel like purposely showing it to them, there's no reason for that. Because if they want to see it, they're gonna find it. They're going to.
Why do y'all have so much energy for pornographic material, but y'all don't keep the same energy for all other forms of media? Have y'all seen Tom and Jerry? Have y'all seen some of these cartoons and how violent and abusive they are? Like, I've seen Tom and Jerry cartoons where there's bombing happening, where there's so much, like, physical violence happening, but y'all aren't making sure that kids aren't having access to that material. I wonder why. I wonder why y'all are putting so much energy on porn and not just talking about all forms of media. It's because you're looking for a scapegoat. Dealing with is how people talk about child liberation, but then treat children like second-class citizens, then treat children like objects, then treat children like unconscious beings who can't make decisions for themselves. What about I found pornography and my sister showed it to me and the other kids at our middle school were showing it to each other? Are people not understanding? Clearly we were seeking it out. Clearly we were interested in it. And there was material that I was off to for hours.
Comparing Tom and Jerry to porn is crazy. When people are talking about protecting children, they're not talking about like children are second-class citizens who can't make decisions on their own. They are literally just saying that they are children, they are minors, and their frontal lobes are not fully developed, so they actually physically can't make the right decision on their own. If when you were 14, somebody said, hey, do you want to go to math class or do you want to goon all day to porn? Which one would you have picked? I'm going to pay Oracle the smallest compliment ever. When you have autism and ADHD, or just a lot of trauma, sometimes you do mature a little bit faster mentally than your peers. And it is very easy to think that that is how everybody grew up, with the ability to make decisions and make the right decisions. But that is not how every single kid is. That actually is not how every single kid should be. You should be a kid. You shouldn't be forced to make big decisions for yourself. So no, not all children can make decisions for themselves. Maybe you could. Maybe you could. You said you could. Maybe you could make decisions for yourself. But not every kid can. Kids have an issue with impulsivity and the ability to think through their actions. It's better to just have the rule, no children should watch porn, than to like go through a process of being like, I think you might be ready. Okay, let's show it to you. I think it's better to just have a blanket statement. No kid should watch porn.
I'm a disabled person. I spent the majority of my time during this pandemic bedbound. And what was I doing? Watching pornography.
Toya is a mindless gooner. Honestly, what it seems like is that they were exposed to porn way too young, and it messed them up. And like, that happens sometimes to people, and clearly that's what happened to him.
Explore my sexuality. Also, I was constantly being told that I was too fat, that I was ugly, that no man would ever want me, even though I wasn't interested, in necessarily being with cis men. But how is, that helpful? How is that boosting a child's sexual confidence? It's not. And while many people, claim that, oh, a kid watching porn, it messes up your brain, it fucks you up, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, well, isn't being told you're ugly and that nobody wants you not messing up your brain? Like, be so for real. And so I found solace, I found refuge, I found community.
I personally think two things can be true at one time. We shouldn't tell children their bodies are bad, but we also should not expose children to porn. I do not think that these two things have to happen independently of each other. I think they can happen at this. They don't. Wait, what? It's not one or the other. It can be that they both don't have to happen. In my script, it says to insert the clip about Oracle talking about how homeless people should be allowed to essentially jerk off in the streets. And I am having trouble finding the clip again. So if I can't find it, I'm explaining it to you.
Act. You covering your children's eyes if they happen to see two people kissing or gay people, or if they happen to see like animals, for example, procreating, is more harmful to them than simply explaining what the act is. A lot of people in my video about homeless people pleasing themselves in public were talking about, well, what about the kids? What about the kids? And what about them? What about them? Kids are naturally curious. If they say, hey, mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa, whoever, what's that person doing? You can explain that person is having sex, or that person is sexually pleasing themselves. End of story. And then the child will learn, okay, no big deal. But if you tell them, oh, it's so gross, it's a sin, this, that, and the other, then that child is going to feel. I got so much hate for saying that y'all need to ignore homeless people that are masturbating in public because as a house person, you're in a position of power. People don't want to see people having sex in public, and yet they also don't want those people to be housed. And not only that, those people are so puritanical and truly believe that seeing other people have sex is somehow going to kill them.
And I just want to say, he's weird. That's literally my only critique of that part. If I can find the video, I'll insert it. If I can't find it, I'm just going to verbally make sure I got that out. That's a real thing that he said.
This person did not respect my yes. So I had a friend over and, we were hanging out, eating food. We had taken some shrooms, having a good time. And I'm feeling good, I'm feeling light, I'm feeling pleasure in my body. And I asked them if they were interested in engaging in a sexual act with me. And to this, they responded, it was like some chess play for the algorithm. And they asked me in return, what do you think? And I was just stunned because I have never ever heard somebody ask a question to my question before, especially when my question is a yes or no question. And I remember just saying no, confused, and they said right answer. And that moment made me feel really icky. But because I didn't get any kind of explanation from them, I kind of just put it off as maybe it was just the right time, the vibes weren't right, whatever the case may be. But a couple months later, I asked this person if they would like to engage in a kink scene with me, and I was abruptly ghosted. And I ended up confronting them a few months after that, and I'm just like, what is going on? Why did you ghost me when I asked you this question? And then they accused me of objectifying them. But now, after many years of processing, I realized that this person was uncomfortable with my direct communication around sex. Because of their inability to be direct about their needs and wants and their own no, they were uncomfortable with my yes. They were uncomfortable with me stating directly what I needed and wanted. And instead of acknowledging their own lack, they projected onto me. And they accused me of objectifying them, and they judged me for having sexual needs. And to get even more complex, I'm a dark-skinned fat black person, which means...
For this clip, I have a lot of questions. So many questions. My first question, did this friend in any way hint they were interested in him? I just want to know. From the way that he's describing it, it seems like they had never had even a sexual relationship of any kind. So it's so weird to then ask that friend to participate in a sexual act with you if there has been no history of that happening ever and you guys are just friends. I would have blocked you. You would have immediately been blocked. You were not making your needs known. You're being a creep. A creep. Also, respecting somebody's yes is not a thing. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Can we just say that? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Is respecting a yes a thing? I feel like that should not be a thing. If there are two people and one person says, I don't want to have sex, and the other person says, I want to have sex, you go with the no. You don't just say, well, one of us wants to, one of us doesn't want to. Who are we going to respect today? The person who doesn't want to. This should not be a conversation. If one person wants to get funky and somebody else does not want to get funky, nobody's getting funky. Except for Oracle, because they stay funky.
We're showering once every week to 2 weeks.
I understand everybody has needs and desires, but guess whose responsibility that is? That is your responsibility. It's not mine. It's not his. It's not hers. It's your responsibility to take care of your own needs and desires. Imagine somebody you're just friends with texting you and being like, hey, I was wondering if you'd want to, do a little kink scene with me. I would freak out so bad. I'd be like, what the frick, man? I'd be like, what the frick? Don't do that. Stop. I would also feel objectified. I'd feel like the whole time we were friends, you're just plotting on me. I'm not sure if this is just like a hot people problem, but like, as an adult, it actually is really hard to make friends who don't want to just have sex with you. Like, it's something that I genuinely have had to deal with as an adult growing up. Especially once I hit like a glow-up era. It was really hard. And it still is hard because people always have ulterior motives, and it's really hard to find friends who don't want to fuck you. Especially because I tend to be friends with like queer women and straight men. So just to help with that, I'm only friends with people who I know I'm not their type and have made it very clear they're not attracted to me. And not even on purpose. I don't say, hey, do you like me? Because I don't like them. But for some reason, people who are not attracted to me feel the need to let me know. I don't know why. Don't know why. Don't know what that is. I think what happens is they see how other people treat me and they just want to make it known, like, hey, I don't want a piece of that actually. But there is something truly gut-wrenching about thinking that you actually have a friend in somebody and then finding out that they just want to hit. They were uncomfortable because you're a creep. And also, clearly your chest is sexual for you.
Y'all do know that criminalizing public nudity and sex impacts children, right? Because children often expose their genitals. And children also can like drop their pants in public. Like, I had a 2nd grade student. He dropped his pants in the middle of class. So by criminalizing these things, y'all think y'all are keeping children safe, but actually y'all are criminalizing children. Because when we criminalize it, it disproportionately affects people like children who do expose themselves in public. It also criminalizes nursing mothers who need to take out their breasts in order to feed their children. It also criminalizes disabled people who may need to, expose parts of their bodies in public in order to take care of themselves and manage their disabilities or illnesses. It also criminalizes indigenous people, some of which who...
First off, not all kids drop their pants. You act like this is a common thing. I have never once in my life seen a child in the store drop their pants. I've never once in my life seen somebody have to change their clothes or expose themselves for anything, actually. Other than to... Actually, one time I was in the psych ward and a guy who was having a mental health crisis pooped his pants and exposed himself at the same time. That's the only time I've been flashed in public. I guess that wasn't public because it was a hospital. But I feel like this guy is forgetting that nuance exists. Not everything is black and white. I understand that you have autism. Me too. But we gotta remind ourselves, there is nuance. There is always a gray area in every situation. If a toddler drops their pants in a store, I can promise you that nobody is calling the cops. Nobody's calling 12 on a toddler for dropping their pants in public. Nobody. Also, if somebody's mentally disabled and accidentally, or purposely exposes themselves in public, people might be alarmed or taken aback. But I doubt they'd call the cops, and also if they do, that's why people are not guilty by insanity. That's why that exists. Because if there are people out there who cannot control the impulses and cannot control what they do, we have systems in place to help those people.
My too woke take is that we need to decriminalize public nudity. If you've never masturbated in school, if you've never dropped your pants in public as a child, are you really living?
You're right. That is a too woke take. I personally have never done that in school before. Have you? I'm talking about you, the viewer, now. I'm talking to you. Have you done that in school? I'm genuinely asking you. Tell me in the comments below. Have you done that in school? Actually, I don't know if I want to know that. I'm scared. This video is just assuming again that life has no nuance. The laws are in place for people, actually, people just like you. People who need those laws in order to keep their boobs away. People who want to expose themselves to children.
People can control their impulses. They don't have to expose themselves in public. Wrong. Impulse control, believing that everybody has impulse control, is actually ableism. Children, for example, lack impulse control, which is why they often do drop their pants in public or masturbate at school.
What is up with his obsession with masturbating in school?
FBI, open up!
I'm scared.
Y'all will never beat the transphobe allegations because you continue to say the most ridiculous things like, oh my gosh, what's their obsession with children? I'm a childhood educator. It's like asking a mortician, oh my God, what's your obsession with dead bodies? Or like asking an orthopedic surgeon, oh my God, what's your obsession with bones? Or like asking
a mouse why it's so obsessed with cheese. Or like asking Oracle why they're so obsessed with not wearing a shirt.
A deep dark skin, fat black, trans disabled person is all that matters. So if you are not interested in pleasing me in all the ways, financially, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, intellectually, then you have no business being in my life. You have no business as a deep dark skin.
So you want your friends to fulfill your needs. Right. Okay, totally not weird. Okay. It seems to me that Oracle is what we call a taker. They are a taker. They are not a giver. They want you to pour into them fully, but then when you ask them to pour into you, they can be like, sorry, I just really am not feeling good. I can't. I'm very chronically ill, very mentally ill, very fat, very disabled, very black. I'm so black, actually. I'm actually really, really black, and I just can't. I'm too black to do that. Sorry. Okay, so this is the conclusion of part 1. Like I said, you see how long this video is? That's why I'm making multiple parts. At the very end, I'll probably make a long, I'll compile them all into a compilation, but it's a long video. I'm sure there are things that I missed. In the comments, let me know what I missed in this video so that in the next video, I can cover it. In conclusion, do I actually think that Oracle / Toya is a predator? Yes. Maybe unintentionally. But they are still a predator. They are still a groomer at the very least. And I don't even think it's an over-exaggeration of the situation to say that, yeah, they are being predatory. Or at least that their ideas are predatory. And to say that I am scared if they ever have a child. I think that he's under the impression that just because he's talking about it so nonchalantly and so openly that, see guys, clearly it's not weird, because if it was weird, why would I be talking about it so nonchalantly? When in actuality, you can be doing both. It is weird and you are being nonchalant about it, and that's making it more weird. Like, I would genuinely pay money to see what is in this guy's search history. I would like to know, what does he search? Actually, I would not pay money because I don't have money. All my money is tied up in reparations somewhere. And I'm sure we'll see what's in his search history one day, because people like this eventually do get caught. Alright, hopefully the next part will be out soon. I have to make it, I have to write the script, I have to edit it. It will probably be about Toya's abusers and who they are and like what they actually did to him, because I have seen him talk about what they did to him, and I want you to know right now, the answer is nothing. The answer is normal human interaction. I also want to make it very clear, my comments are not a safe space to be transphobic or disrespectful to trans people. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because you are my oppressor and you owe me reparations. Every subscribe is one reparation paid to me. Thank you. Also, if you like this video, you can find me on TikTok at AJ Talks A Lot. You can find me on Instagram, AJ Talks A Lot. Actually, speaking of Instagram, if you're still watching this video, I have like 4 followers on there on my AJ Talks A Lot Instagram, and that's kind of embarrassing for me, so I'm gonna need you to follow that, please, so I can stop being embarrassed. What else do I want to say? Bye.